Going live. Sorry, guys. It's a Friday. It's a day. Let's see. Anybody else want to share some wins?
Well, got two properties under contract this week, so that's good.
That's huge. We have a top producer call on Tuesdays, and we were talking about wins. We're like, we got a showing. Like now we're celebrating showings. So when that's happening, we're definitely applauding you for offers. So congratulations on that. We're starting to see things pick up a little bit in our area too. We had 3 closings this week. We've had a property sitting on the market forever, and lots of new construction we're competing with, and got an offer in on that this morning. So, that's a good thing. Maybe people's temperature and people's confidence in the market is changing a little bit. So, all right, I'm going to jump in here. Let's do like a little bit of a mastermind. And one of the things too, like I said, for those that are just jumping in, Renee Funk is going to be in Huddle the last Friday of every month. So she was going to be our guest today, but because she's in Florida and because of all the storms and everything else going on, she couldn't make it. And I found out this morning. So I couldn't find anything, or I couldn't put anything together back up, but I have some backups if we need to. Jacqueline Houghton, I might call on you on some stuff because we might talk Working Genius, if that's okay.
Sure.
Is there any topic you guys want to talk about or mastermind on shortly? And if not, we can pull in some of the.
Elizabeth, I have the role play cards. I've just never opened the box.
Well,
That's a
there's a
problem.
start. That's a problem.
But if anybody knows how to use them, we can use them.
I have the box and I've never opened it either, Brian.
God.
The first step is admitting it. The first step is admitting it. I
Don't do
have the
what we
box and
do.
I have opened it, but have I role played with them? I have not, because so there you go. That's cool. Yeah, so we'll have Renee come in later on, but huh? Brian? No. All right. So sorry we're a little fumbling this morning, but we're gonna bring it together. So anything that's going on in your businesses right now that you guys want to bring up to this group that we can work through?
I actually have something that feels like it keeps coming across my desk that I want to kind of pitch and get people's feedback on. I've gotten my second seller finance offer from some like random LLC company on a listing that I have, not through like, the Leahy Lendings situation or anything. I'm wondering if other people are seeing these come through, like lots of companies just trying to buy up your properties, seller finance.
Yes.
What's your overall thought on it?
Well, first, like what state are you in?
Texas.
So I'm not sure how it works there, but on the Florida contract, they have a box that says assignable. Do you have that there?
No.
Okay.
No, but Jeff, in our state, they can say seller. It could be Jeffrey Fahey or assigns. That's how they get around that.
Okay. Is that what they're doing?
Let's see. They're not even formally writing it up. They're just sending me possibilities.
Oh, okay. So that's just verbal. That's not even a real offer then. They're just fishing.
Would you, I just don't know if I should engage or not.
I would
having
just
my clients talk to Leahy and see if like seller financing would work for them on the terms of like actually getting someone approved through conventional financing.
Yeah. So first, what I normally do is thank you so much. I would love if you would put this in writing so we can present this to the seller. In the meantime, do you have a minute to chat? Because I'd like to learn a little bit about what your goal is or what your buyer's goals are. Because then I can find out if they're just saying, I want to buy $1 million house with $1,000, or if they have like $50,000, because then you can maybe convert them over to like a DSCR loan if they have a considerable down payment. And a lot of people don't even know what that is. So then you can eliminate the whole seller financing conversation by understanding what they want and what they have.
You said move them to a what?
A DSCR loan, an investor loan, which is like 20 to 25% down payment, show documents. And a lot of people don't even know about those.
Or slip into a hard money loan, because I work with a lot of investors too and kind of around. But if it's not in writing, and I'm in Texas too, I'm down south. I agree with him. Like if it's got to be I wouldn't even have that conversation with your seller until you've got an actual offer.
Jacqueline, maybe you can go back to them and say, you know what, thanks so much. We're happy to consider. I need all the terms and writings to present to my client so they know what they're looking at. And if they're going to take the time to put it in writing, maybe it could be a possibility. But if they're not, they, like you said, they might just be fishing.
Perfect.
And not all sellers can do seller financing. I mean, you
I
know,
was gonna
like,
say, you gotta be, yeah, Elizabeth, that's what you have to be aware of. What a lot of people don't realize is when you're doing seller financing is that the original owner of the house who owns that mortgage is still on the mortgage. So a lot of times they can't go and get another home. And then if that investor is not a legitimate investor and really knows what they're doing and is gonna upgrade the house, you could end up one with the house back and you don't know in what condition. But you're still responsible for that mortgage. And if they miss payments, it dings your credit.
that's a good
So
point.
you have to be really careful. And a lot of these investor programs that you can do online, a lot of them tell them, oh, go get owner financing. You don't have to put your money up. You use their, their money.
Well,
And
but
there's some investors who know how to do that. But there's also some who it's, their first time out there and you don't want to be their test pilot.
Am I mistaken? I thought the owner had to own the house 100% outright, no mortgage, no liens in order to do seller financing.
Oh,
Nope. Nope. They can assume they're basically wanting to, you're still on your mortgage. They want you to kind of.
So that's like the subject too, correct?
Correct.
Okay. See, I don't even mess with those. Those are not even.
Yeah.
It's becoming a lot more common given the fact that there's a lot of people holding interest rates that are very low. So it's
yeah.
a strategy to sell because they could charge, say, 2% interest on top of the interest that they have, and it's still below what the market rate is. Now, with the rates coming down, that's changing a bit. But I don't understand the fact that it would ding your credit because you are still the person that pays. So they pay you, you pay the bank. So if they miss a payment, you go after them. The bank doesn't go after them. They would come after you. So you still need to be paying your own payments.
But if you don't have the funds to pay it,
right. Well, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
That's right. So it really depends on your client's ability and you just have to be careful.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of investor offers, but I'm not getting that kind of stuff. We're getting cash. Like, why would they?
Oh my gosh, we get so many subject twos down here, Elizabeth. It's not even funny.
Yeah, a lot in Georgia too.
Hey, no, leave that cat alone. Sorry.
We get
Sorry, guys. I
lot
thought I
in
was on mute.
Georgia.
Okay. I would just say watch out because I had a listing. They were offering full price. They said they were putting $895,000 down and, showed me, their proof of funds and everything. Well, it was crazy because they were buying it through an LLC, some kind of business, some kind of, I don't know, it seemed like a scam. And when I actually got the contract, the $895,000 down, they were actually going to get a loan for that amount. And then they wanted us to seller finance the rest. And that would have been they wanted us to seller finance $600,000. So they were putting us as a second lien. So the seller financing was a second lien. So really the first lien would have been the $895,000 that they were getting a loan on to put the supposed down payment on the property. So really the first lien could come after them. And then we're just out that $600,000 if they default, right? And they're like, well, I said, okay, well, if you guys default, then what? Well, you can take over the loan, take over the $895,000 loan for $10,000, $11,000 a month when my clients are only paying $3,000 right now. Why would they want to do that? So the offer was great because it was a full price offer, but the terms were really screwed up. And if we didn't pay attention to all of that, then my clients could have really been screwed on that deal. And I only knew about that because I talked to my coach that's in Galveston, and they get a lot of that kind of stuff for people trying to do STRs because they were going to do an STR with this property, supposedly. And there's probably some kind of thing out there. They're trying to tell people, oh, you can buy STRs with no money, none of your own money type of thing. Something like that. So just be really careful when you get those offers. And it was crazy because they showed me these proof of funds, but they weren't even using those funds to buy the house. They were going to get, it's just, just be very careful.
Hey,
There's some
guys,
creative things going on out there.
Yeah, maybe one
Sean Fuentes. I was trying to cobble a deal together. Somebody reached out to me. They were going to do a subject to. I reached out to our Texas broker. What he told me is once the lien holder, the bank, sees that title is going to be transferred, they're going to want their note paid. So if there's any of that title business going on, then the seller will have to pay their note right off the bat before title
Yeah, there is some
transfers.
like it's not. You kind of have to keep it under the table from the original mortgage holder, lien holder, right? Like it's
And that's where I think Jacqueline, I think that's where it goes crazy. That's where you kind of have to back off because your client is assuming all the risk at that point.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, if they don't have it in writing though, I mean, I wouldn't even, if they're not going to put it in writing, I wouldn't even have it as a viable option for your client to consider.
It's
And then I would
start a conversation where I said, okay, well, maybe I'll put you in touch with Leahy. And if this is something that you're interested in, we could talk about what that would look like in a way that benefits you. And you go through like the qualifying channels. I don't love Leahy's program, but you know, I also was like, this could be a marketing tactic for us.
Yeah, that's true.
So get in touch with some hard money lenders, right? So my investors have hard money lenders. So that's kind of the route that I would tell you to go, because I've had success with that versus the super creative financing situation. And so that's kind of the route that I would tell you to go and have some in your back pocket. That way, when you do get those offers, you could be like, hey, I have a hard money lender that's willing to lend on this property. Would you like their contact information if you're not dealing with like an agent directly with the investor? And that way you're able to vet the hard money lender because not all of them are on the up and up either. And so that would be one that I would tell you to kind of do because I've got an investor that works with a guy. He has his own stuff, and then he's got a guy that he works with. We bought a $500,000 waterfront fixer for the price of the house, and then he also included they did their own back end because he's including the remodeling total on his side. So the sales price of the house was like 505. Technically, between him and the hard money lender, it was like 650. Because he was financing all of the renovation costs, and then we're getting ready to list it for 865. So in a 90-day turnaround. So I would say maybe find a good couple of good hard money lenders that you can vet and have a good relationship with. That way, that when they come to you and say, yeah, we can make this work, that what you're getting from that guy to present to a potential seller is legit. So
I think that's great advice. One thing I would say, because I've had these people reach out to me as well, is we're all professionals on this call. And we know in our gut when we're talking to another professional, whether they're in construction or they're a banker. And so some of these guys, they kind of limp in when they reach out to me. Do you think your client would be, like there's not professional talk, and I've talked to investors that they've done it, a bunch of times. And it's a different conversation, the tone, all of those things. So if your gut's telling you it's not good, it probably is, because everybody here has enough experience to tell the difference.
Cool. Thanks.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So two things. One, yes, absolutely. There's a lot of these coaching, quote unquote, coaching programs that people are paying into on social media. So it's uneducated, uninformed people trying to do this in most cases. So 1 out of 100 might be real. And secondly, another route you could potentially go is turn it into a rent to own, because I just did one of those. So you still get compensated like a full month or 2 months or whatever, do a 12-month lease. And then what I did was I got the buyer or renter in this case to give $20,000 non-refundable to these price with the option to purchase it up to 6.
Doesn't Texas not like rent to own?
Yeah,
months later,
Texas
so
doesn't
that
like the
way he
lease to
can
own
rent
stuff.
it while he's there paying his rent, and then he gets the gig and buy it at that reserve price. So that's never mind.
Yeah, that's gonna be state specific. Texas doesn't like those. Georgia, John. I mean, when I was licensed in Georgia, we had those. Do they still have that there?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And it always confused me. But then Texas, they don't let us do them. So each state's gonna be different on that. But interesting. I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of creative things going on right now, and I know we're getting, some interesting offers. And I've got one in that, their terms are completely out of there. But again, it's just conversations and talking to your sellers and talking to your clients to understand what's really important to them to get them all to the closing table. So,
And
sorry. Go ahead.
go Jack. Oh,
I was going to switch
John.
gears and just see if anyone is actually seeing an increase in activity since the rate drop. So we can talk about that.
That was going to be my question.
Oh my God, we read each other's minds.
So down where I'm at, I am one of the only agents, hopefully nobody else is down here, that is getting like Rocket Homes leads through EXP. I went through and got the certification.
Nice.
So down in Coastal Bend, I'm getting lots of them. And I love them because they actually come to me ready to go, pre-approved. I've actually had a really good experience with the program, so I can speak very highly of them. Yes, the referral fee is high, but I'm closing them, and I capped already. I capped 6 months in, so it is what it is.
Amazing.
So, yeah. So I've actually seen an uptick, which is great. I've also, with some of my listings, because for the first time ever in my really long career, I am very listing heavy. I am historically a buyer's agent. And so I have, on the flip side, started to go back to some old school marketing tactics. And so yesterday I collaborated with 2 other listing agents in a downtown condo building, and we did like a big open house. So you're starting to see a lot more of the collaborative efforts down here in the Corpus area to start to bring out the buyers and the agents to get to the broker opens. We're starting to see regional tours. And so that's been an upside. I haven't really seen that in quite a while. And so we're starting to see a bit of an uptick. On the buy side, for probably the last 2 years, have always been able to negotiate closing costs and concessions and things, repair concessions and things like that. So it's hopefully going to start to uptick here. But I can tell you, when it comes to my online leads right now, between the Rocket Homes and the Redfin, it's daily for me, daily. So.
Andy, that is freaking cool, by the way. First of all, we need to do a mastermind sometime. We won't do it today, but on converting those types of leads into online leads, because Revenos has so many different programs like that. And a lot of people, and a lot of people are just kind of like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Their leads, right? So they've got Home Story coming out. They've got, is that through Revenos as well?
Yes. So I started with Home Story. There was nobody down here. And at the time, it was before Tony King bumped up. And so Tony gave my name to the head guy in New Jersey. And so I actually did it backwards. I got approved and then had to go through the training. And so I am on Home Story and I'm on Rocket Homes. I get both of those. And I've been doing Op City for years and Redfin for years. And so those are the 2 that I choose to do when it comes to the online leads. And they're successful for me. And I have even been able to adapt to all the new changes, no problem. And I will tell you, when it comes to the ones we're getting from Home Story and from Rocket with EXP, I like them better because they're not just people who are fishing and want answers to questions or this or that. They are already into the approval point. And so they're ready to go, right? So it's the very first one I got, she went new construction, closed in 40 days. I have a listing
And
from
are y'all understanding what she's talking about as far, okay, so for those that don't know, with the Revenos, we've got Revenos is our lead umbrella. Okay, so any buyer seller leads that EXP brings in and they distribute out to the agent, there's all these different programs. You've got Relo in there, you've got Home Story. So Home Story is through Chase Bank. What she's talking about with Rocket, and what's nice about these leads is a lead until you convert it and build the relationship and the rapport. However, they are already coming through a bank with an approval. So now, whether they're realistic or not, I mean, they might have an approval for 500,000 and they come to us in Austin saying, I want to be in Travis Heights, which Travis Heights is 1.5 million and above, pretty much, right? They might not be all that realistic, but the initial contact is they've come through a bank already approved. So Andy's getting these buyers that aren't just like Zillow leads that are fishing or whatever else. She's getting actual leads that are buyers that are interested in buying, that have already started the process, and then she's converting them from there. So huge opportunity within EXP and Revenos. So if you guys are not signed up through the Revenos program and you want additional leads, I mean, obviously she's getting a ton of them right now. I know our market's going to be getting some, and they're building that out because Home Story used to work with all sorts of brokerages. And what they were doing is they were throwing it out to 5 different brokerages and hoping and a prayer that somebody would convert them. And what they were recognizing is the other companies could not convert them like EXP could. So they're bringing all of their program under EXP, which is pretty incredible across the nation. So that's in process right now, but that's what Andy's referring to when she's talking to these Rocket leads and these Home Story leads. They've already got approvals with them.
Yeah, it's pretty neat because Rocket Homes sets up their own requirement for their follow-up, and EXP basically shortens it. So we always stay on top of their KPSs or KPIs. And so they love us, right? They absolutely love the relationship that they have been building with EXP. And so if you guys are looking for the training, if you go into the workplace group, the Revenos group, like Elizabeth said, REO's in there too. REO is not part of my business plan. It's a lot, and it's just not something I want to take on. But I've done the Relo and Home Story, which I think is Affinity, and then Rocket. So there's a whole training calendar, and I know they're in the process of swapping over the calendar, Brian said, so it's a little different. So you might have to go in and play with it a bit. If not, I can probably share with you the Google one that I subscribe to. I have most of them. But go into the Revenos group and workplace and you'll find the training calendar. And so you'll want to sit, it's a one class, like 3 hours. And then they've also got follow-up trainings, and then you can always go into the group. But it's really great. For me, it's been successful. Probably part of it is because I'm the only one down here. So I haven't really told anybody that, but it is good if you're able to.
Opportunity.
Right. Yeah. Like if you know your conversions and you're good at converting them, it's a great opportunity. And the best part is they're ready to go. They're already, by the time I usually get them from Rocket, they're almost into underwriting.
Yeah. So
this
is great because these are opportunities within EXP that a lot of y'all on here are newer to the company, not newer agents, but newer to the company. And so you need to understand all the resources and training and tools and things we have at our fingertips if you want to go down those paths, right? I mean, to Andy's point, the leads can be expensive. Relo can be expensive. If you've worked with Relo in the past, like when I've worked with Cardis or Serva or any of those, I mean, they take a big portion. The Relo companies take a big portion. Revenos is taking a very small portion, but they need a small portion in order to be able to continue generating the leads and keeping those relationships going. And so the reality is the way I look at it is it's a lead that you didn't have before. It's a contract you didn't have before. It's a client you didn't have before. It's a paycheck you didn't have before. And so I don't necessarily think you need to rely 100% on that. But if it's a piece of your business and a part of your funnel, then that's a huge opportunity. And then, yes, if you're going to EXPCon in Miami, there you can do all of the Revenos, all of the Relo, all the luxury, all the stuff, all the trainings for free. So there's a lot of them online right now, but if you're going to EXPCon, just make sure to sign up for those because it's another tool in your tool belt. Cool. Are a lot of you going to EXPCon? Who's going? Yes. Yes, gonna be good. Okay, good. Good. Marissa. All right, good. Marissa just joined us, and so we're just throwing you into the fire there. So that's awesome.
I'm excited. Once you guys get these clients through this lead generation, then they're yours, right? So it's not only just like a source, it's like this person can now refer you to their colleagues and their friends. I mean, it's just another expensive.
Yeah. Then they're yours, yeah.
So it's not like Opcity or Redfin where if they like, I think you're part of your agreement that you sign that if they do another deal within so many months or a time frame that you're still technically technically supposed to pay a referral fee back.
Yeah, no, it's not like that. So just, I mean, again, might not fit everybody's needs or styles, but it's so amazing to have it all at our, Tom's using Make It Rain. Making It Rain is another program that EXP started a long time ago through KV Core, because we saw originally all the agents were spending so much money on Zillow and Trulia and all of those kind of programs. And Glenn was like, well, we could do that ourselves and keep a lot more money for our clients. So the Make It Rain program is the paid program from KV Core Leads. So that's another thing. So Tom, would love to hear when you get some more under your belt and stuff, and let us know how that goes. I did it for a little bit in a different market, and that was years ago. So we'll love to see that. But Make It Rain is another thing on your dashboard that you can get involved in. So tons of opportunities, tons of ways to get business and build business as supplemental to what you're already doing. All right. What was I going to tell you? I was going to tell you, oh, switching gears for just a minute. So one of the things about with the growth and the trajectory that EXP's on, and again, we have so many tools and resources at our fingertips that these other imitators, there's other companies that are always going to imitate us, that they don't have, because they're still trying to build, they're trying to figure it out, and we've got 10 years ahead of them all. So that's what's so fun about this. But any of y'all that have heard of Canzel, this was announced yesterday. They've been working on it for a while, but Canzel was one of the copycat brokerages that was trying to copy what we were doing. Huge win. They just realized that they can't duplicate what EXP is doing. And I think other cloud bases are going to see this down the road, because they're all losing so much money, which is taking away from the agents. Those other models are taking more splits and more fees and stuff from the agents, whereas EXP is not doing that. But Canzel is one of those, and they announced yesterday that they're rolling their whole cloud brokerage model into EXP. Huge momentum. So they were in 20 different states trying to get to 50. So if you know any Canzel agents that have come over or are coming over, welcome them to the family and get them plugged in, because that's a huge win. Huge win for our company, which is your company. And we all own the company together. So awesome. What else? And we can jump into Working Genius if you want, but what else do you guys have? John, you're working REO, right?
No, I'm working on the institutional investors.
Oh, you are working on that. Okay. I thought you were
Mhm.
doing REO as well. How's that going?
It's going well. We have a project in one of the cities south of Atlanta that looks like it could be a real win. We have an investor that might want to buy the whole project. So we'll see.
Nice. Love it. Realm is on fire down there. Love it. Anything else?
I'd like to jump in. I've been doing a ton of open houses. It seems like half the people that come in, mainly the open houses, have been 78702 and 78757. Half the people that come in have a house to sell, but aren't and are just looking and aren't ready yet, so to speak. So I get their information, and then the people that do come in that don't have an agent, or even if they have an agent, I don't care. I say, hey, I've got these off-market properties that I may be able to set you up with. And I've got some traction off that. I've got people responding to me. Even though I don't have the house under contract, I just say, hey, then I reach out to the person that has the house, say, look, I've got buyers that are looking.
Are you, and when you're saying off
what's your
market,
timeline?
John, when you're talking about off market properties, are you referencing EXP exclusives? Is that what you're talking about?
No, so I'll have somebody come into my open house and I'll describe who I think they are to them. They'll say, yes, I'm a seller, or I own my own house that I have to sell. I have a 3% interest rate that I'm not willing to trade for a 6 or a 7. So I'm waiting for rates to get down to 5. And so I get their information and I say, hey, I've got buyers coming through. They're looking for properties like yours. When I get them, can I reach out to you? Maybe we can, you can kind of see what kind of interest there is on your house. And they generally say yes. Most of the time they're fairly receptive to it. Then when I do get those buyers, and then I say, hey, look, I've got sellers who aren't ready yet, but if they get the right offer, they could sell their home, and these properties aren't on market, so there's not going to be a lot of competition. And that kind of talk kind of gets people, it's like exclusive, right? They're going to go see a property that nobody else has seen. And so far I've done that 2 weekends in a row, and I've gotten 2 buyers that are responding to me, and the sellers are like, well, it's kind of, we're talking about activity. We're talking about creating deals. And this is how I'm leveraging the open houses to kind of create future deals.
That's awesome. What we're doing too, and we're creating community with, like, if we have a listing in an area, we did it last weekend and this weekend, and it's helping us get a lot of traction, but also conversation, not only for our sellers, but also conversations with other agents. We're going into the neighborhoods, and this is what we've been masterminding on our top producer call every Tuesday. We're going into certain neighborhoods where we have our listings, and we're leading it and being proactive, and we're putting together neighborhood open houses. And so we're reaching out to all the agents, regardless of brokerage. Hey, we see you have a house on the market. Are you interested in doing a neighborhood open house? And so we're getting a lot of traction that way. So that's something to think about too, because your sellers know you're being proactive, and then other agents, it gets you into conversations and brings more traffic into your listings. So I think that's why we got an offer in one of our stores.
I agree with that strategy. Jacqueline and I last week called a bunch of agents, not necessarily in EXP, and we had open houses, and everybody that came through, I was like, well, there should be a lot of open houses within this hour. And they were like, yes, that's why we're out. We're going to hit all those open houses. So these people that are going out definitely see that. They see that, hey, we could hit 5 open houses inside of an hour and a half because there's overlapping times.
Well, and thinking about the open houses, Lizette's not on here right now. She's out of Tampa too. I don't think Lizette's on here. I think a lot of my Florida people are, well, I don't think she's in here. Anyway, Lizette called me because she was like, this is a huge opportunity, open houses, especially with the buyer forms, because a lot of buyers are coming in that don't have buyer reps signed, right? And they want to get into the houses and they want to see them. So Lizette was like, oh my gosh, I love open houses. This is awesome because I'm building this relationship and rapport with agent or buyers that are coming in, and then I can work with them there. So think of that too. If you guys like open houses, they don't have to have buyer reps to come in, but to work with you, they will. So they usually don't have them because they don't want to be signing documents. That's the pushback we're getting. So use that to your advantage.
Well, I've done the same concept on my luxury listing. Twice we've done group open houses in China Ranch subdivision, and we've had nothing but neighbors complain. It maybe because it's in the luxury market, but is there some other tools you guys are doing on luxury listings that might bring some people out?
Oh, you were a little muffled there. You're not getting traction, you're saying?
No, well, we did 2 group open house weekends, and there was 3 of us that hosted in the same time period, same day, and cross marketed, and we didn't get a single but one resident that comes through the whole time. So just wondering if there's some other tools or aspects that you guys are doing on luxury listings to get people out there for those open houses.
Brian, you've got a lot of luxury ones too. Like we're all kind of in the same boat. Those price points are challenged. Jacqueline, you've got some too.
Yeah,
I don't know what the other markets are doing.
we're just doing, I'm setting expectations with my clients, like open houses are not a magic pill, and that way they're not disappointed if some people don't show up. And there's so many variables, especially in Austin. There's events, there's weather, and there's football games and blah, blah, blah. And so, you just don't know what you're going to get. But I mean, we get a lot of other agents with EXP to host our open houses, and we try to get marketing out. I've not run like Facebook ads or Instagram ads. I'd love to know if anybody's doing any like paid advertising before open houses.
So I sometimes do, but I don't think it's it thing. And
doing it through KB Core.
The most I think
and it gives me all the analytics for my sellers, but that's all I'm doing. Anybody else on Facebook ads?
Yeah,
I'm not doing Facebook ads, but I do create a Facebook event and then send it out to all my followers and share it to all the Facebook groups. And then I also create an event on Eventbrite and Nextdoor, and that's helped get some traction too.
That's a really good idea.
That's an amazing idea. I'm going to start doing that. Thank you.
You did, and so I love that. How are you getting traction from that? Are you tracking it back to that?
I have. Now, granted, a lot of it, well, not a lot, but some of it on Facebook is scammers because we know on Marketplace, and I even put it on Marketplace too. I'll list the house on Marketplace, and that's where the scammers will come from. But I have had some people, specifically from next door, that have said they found the event on there, and that's what made them show up. Because that's specific to, the general area.
Love that.
Eventbrite though, can you target an area or how does that work? I've only seen it where you need to kind of put your contacts in, but I'm not that familiar with it.
I'm not aware if you can target an area, but I figure it's out there so the whole world can see it.
Well, think about that point though. I mean, I love that. I've never thought about Eventbrite for that, but like we do a lot of Eventbrites for our events, and it always pulls up when you go into Eventbrite, it'll say, look at the other things in your area, and it pulls up that stuff. So it wouldn't hurt
That's
because,
right.
It knows
Now, the
where you
same
are.
for next door, I'm a member of the area that's where I live, but how would you market it on next door for a different area where your listing is?
Well, I farm my area, so most of the listings and most of the open houses that I'm doing are going to be in my area. And if not, again, I just share it anyway. Even if it's only showing my area, I just feel like someone's going to see it. The more people to see it, the better.
I think I used to advertise on Nextdoor, and I think you can target certain areas on Nextdoor. Like it's pricey, but maybe they've changed their model, so maybe worth looking at to see what
But
that
if
costs.
nothing else though, it's another thing you're showing your seller that you're doing that's different, and you're covering so many different bases. I mean, I think a lot of time is communicating with your sellers and your clients, letting them know everything that you're doing, and what you just shared there. I mean, there's 40 of us on here, 50 of us, I don't know, whatever. I mean, all of us are going, wow, that's a great idea. Not something we even considered. So you're already a step ahead of so many people.
Or
Love it.
prepare it for the seller to share it. They can easily, if they're on Nextdoor, they can share it and share it in their neighborhood groups and all of that stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
It off. We'll get yelled at if we do that in a lot of our neighborhood groups.
That's true, but that's a good idea. Have the sellers do it and say, look, we've already prepared all this stuff for you. Here are the links and everything else that's bringing it back to us so we can follow up with anybody interested. But then you have the sellers do it so they feel like they're a part of the process.
Yeah,
But you got to make it easy for them.
Nextdoor has a lot of problems with realtors listing.
Sure.
But you can prepare stuff and give it to your clients and let them put it in Nextdoor.
And then it's like, it's on you, Mr. or Mrs. Seller. Like,
Mhm.
we're tools to try to get your home sold.
Yeah. I love it.
Did you pass that stuff I gave you? You didn't? Oh, okay. Well,
Only so much I
why
can do.
nobody's been to the open house?
Yeah.
That's right.
Just the conversation.
So I want to share something that we did. I want to pull Jacqueline in a little bit if you guys are good with it. We've all heard of the disc profiles. We've all heard of the, Meyer-Briggs. We've heard of all the different things. We know that Renee's really passionate about exactly what to say. And she'll be in, like I said, she's coming in once a month, and we're going to role play. We're going to talk strategies. We're going to do all the things. So, but we did a mastermind this past weekend, and it was something that I was introduced a while ago to. There was a number of us it's a book called Working Genius. Are any of you guys familiar with it? Oh my gosh, I hate these dots. No? See, this is what's so fun. So I gave everybody homework and I'll share my screen in a minute. I gave everybody homework to read this book, and then there's an assessment that you take with it. And what the premise is there are 6 different geniuses, and every single person leads with 2 geniuses and leads with 2 frustrations. So if you think about people who are in a job and they're excelling, they're doing really, really, really well, and things are great, and then they're promoted, but then they're now promoted into a role that it's not one of their geniuses, or that's not their passion. They're not necessarily going to excel there, and burnout or frustrations and things like that. So we did this mastermind. There were 10 of us, very, very, very different personalities in live business, everything. And we read the book, and then we all did the assessments, and then we plotted it onto a sheet showing who led with what geniuses and who led with what frustrations, and you figure out where the gaps are in your team. Can you hear him? He's so loud. And your team. And when I say team, that could be like all of us here, right? And it just gives you another communication tool, another way of approaching things, another way of seeing things. And we went around the room before we displayed what our geniuses were, and we all guessed what we thought everybody was leading with. And it was pretty eye-opening, because how we show up in as ourselves in our own head is one way, and how we show up to others can be another. And so we all went around the room guessing it. I don't think any of us were right. And then we all showed what our true geniuses were, and then discussed it and plotted on the map. Out of 10 people, and I'm going to show you guys the different geniuses, I think it could be fascinating for all of us to do it together. Or if you have teams or groups, or like John, y'all, the realm could do it, or whatever. It just gave us different talking points and ways to approach things. And Jacqueline, I'm going to have you jump in too. But I will share the screen, because I want to walk through the different geniuses with you guys and kind of show you what we did, and then share a little bit as well. Jacqueline, what do you want to add to that before I
I'm
share
gonna chime
this?
in and say that I came home from the weekend and immediately was telling my husband about it and telling him what kind of geniuses he has and how he like needs to fill in the gaps by outsourcing his frustration geniuses. And I was super hyped on it, and I realized, it's obviously like all of these personality or, these assessments, it's really a good way to understand how you work and how you can fill in the gaps in your life. And also it's good for like relationships and seeing that in your partner. So that was cool. It, I guess, really sunk in because I was super hyped when I came home and talked to him about it. But I think
because it talks about the competencies. We're competent in all of these areas, right? But just because you're competent in an area doesn't mean that that's where you thrive and where you add the most value.
Big takeaways. Like, we could do all of them. We do all of them on a daily basis. But the whole thing, like the setup on the book, is this guy's, and actually I feel like I hear this a lot with like friends and colleagues. It's like you take a job and then you get promoted because you feel like that's the next logical step and it means a better title and more money, but all of a sudden you're feeling unhappy because you're in a new role and you're being shifted on what your focus is in terms of where you need to like what geniuses you get to lead with. And so, yeah, we can all do all 6 of them. And I think it might make more sense when Elizabeth brings up what they are, but that doesn't mean we're happy doing them. And if we could focus on the ones that we lead with and then fill in the gaps where we're frustrated, I think that's how we can kind of be happy in our lives and careers.
Apologizing a lot for connecting people and like being the way, and I was like, oh, that's who I am. There were 2 of us that had the exact same geniuses, and I was very surprised by that and confused by that a little bit, because, and we're EGs, and I'll tell you what that is in a second. But then I was like, but you can jump in and do all these things. Like, one of my frustrations is tenacity. And what they mean by that is getting projects done, right? So I can start projects and ideas and things like that, but I never get it to the finish line. And that's just one of my opportunities I can work on. But we were looking at that going, wait, but you jump in and you'll get all these things done. And so we brought in the DISC profile. So I'm a very high SD and she's a very high IC. So then our geniuses were the same, but our DISC profiles were different. And so that's why you can complement each other. So when you see that and you start, I'm going to share this screen. And when you start figuring out who leads with what, it's pretty brilliant. Hold on, let me see. Does this make sense? Probably not, but we're going to do it anyway for 2 seconds. We won't go into it too deep. I just want to show you the premise and then I'll put it all in there. Can y'all see this?
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. So I'm just going to go. So what they talk about, we don't like the words so much, but we think it's really more about them trying to fit in for widget, right? So they've got this acronym. So widget, these are all the geniuses: wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And when we first looked at the enablement, like that can be a negative, and we approached it as a negative until you truly read in and understand what it all is. So if you think of the people that lead with geniuses, and their genius is wonder, so you're going to lead with 2. So those that lead with wonder, they crave consideration, right? They're the ones that are curious. They're asking a lot of questions. I know Renee Funk leads with a W. I know she's a wonder and she asks a ton of questions, which was one of my frustrations. So that's why when we're in conversations, I'm like, let's just get to the point, right? So, and then they're dismissed, they're crushed by being dismissed. So if they're wondering or their creativity isn't being considered, like that's one of their challenges. I don't know why there's green going across the things. Can you see the green? I think I'm drawing on my screen. Hold on. So like wonder is exactly what you think. Their motto is let's think about it. Let's, you know, is there a better way? They're asking questions all the time. I'm not sure, and they don't come to decisions quickly. Invention, and I know we're at the top of the almost at the top of the hour. Invention, you're the one who's wanting to be creative. You're craving freedom. You don't want constraint. You want to be able to consider all sorts of things. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I only see you, Jacqueline. So that's wonder. Okay, invention. Let's figure it out. I've got an idea. So those are the people that are being creative. So if you guys know Daphne Quay, she's on here today. She's a big YouTuber. She's very, very creative. She comes up with all these different ideas. What happens though is a lot of people don't see it to the finish line. She happens to be very unique where she leads with IT's tenacity. So she comes up with all these ideas, and that's why she's so successful in the YouTube space, because she gets it to the finish line, right? Discernment is craving trust. Alicia Michaud, if y'all know her, she leads with a discernment. She doesn't want people to be saying you have to prove it, but they kind of look into that, and people trust them and come to them for knowledge and experience and all the things, because they just naturally lead with that discerning approach. Then you get to galvanizing. So they want a reaction. They want to be the rah-rahs. They want to cheerlead. They want to get people involved. And so when people are engaging with them, that is what fills their cup. They're crushed by apathy. So I lead with galvanizing. I lead with EG, are my two, which made a whole lot of sense, because I'm always like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm always like trying to rally the troops, but this is what my natural state is, which made a whole lot more sense. I'm always wanting to get people moving forward. I'm always trying to get everybody to come together. Obviously, we've got huddles for that reason. I'm like, come on, guys, let's get into this, right? Because I think we all win together in a bigger way. So that's what galvanizing is. Again, they're using words that I'm like, enablement, immediately you're thinking, or I was immediately thinking negative. And we think it's just, it could be encouragement. It can be anything with an E. They're just trying to make it.
I like replacing it with like an energizer or something like that. So
yeah, I think that's better. Yeah. So energizer, encourager, they want appreciation. They don't like being overlooked. So they kind of go hand in hand. So like, if you know Stacy Speaks, she's an EG as well. But it just kind of shows you, oh, this is who I am. And this is the team player type aspect. On tenacity, that's the last one. I think I'm tenacious, but when you look at it in this type of a setting, it makes a lot more sense. So they really want clarity. If you're thinking engineers, your attorneys, your high C's for the most part, they want it very, very clear. They don't want ambiguity. They just want to understand what the bottom line is, and they want to get it to the finish line. They want to get it done. So the Daphne example, she creates all this content and all these ideas and brings all this YouTube content together. So many people, I mean, how many of us have done videos and things saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put it together, and it just sits in your photo album, right? I am so guilty of that because I never get it to the bottom. Like Stacy, for example, she leads with this as well. And so when I was talking about doing this mastermind, I had all these ideas, and I was never getting a presentation or putting anything together. And Stacy just ran with it and put it together. I was like, oh, great. Because that's one of her strengths. That's what she loves to do. So the whole purpose, and then what we can do is figure out everybody's pairings and what that means. It's so cool. Like if you look at EG, for example, which is me, enthusiastic encourager, warm and positive affirmer, quick to support and inspire people who need energy or reassurance. Like that's totally who I am. Right. So it makes a lot more sense on what we all lead with. And then what we can do is we we plotted everything on this map. So everybody who led with, Jacqueline, what were you?
I was EG also.
You were EG too. Okay, so you had all of us in EG, and then what were your frustrations?
Tenacity. Ugh, gross.
Tenacity and something else. So then what happens is you see where your gaps are in your team or your environment or your organization or whatever it is, and then you know who to pull in for what geniuses and where to find those people that can help where your frustrations are. So you're just understanding where everybody aligns and where they're most passionate moving forward. So we can totally geek out about this. I was going to show you, I think that's it. Well, I was going to show you the other form that we had, but so it's just something that was really fascinating for all of us to kind of come together as a group. And I think we can do this down the road. It's like exactly what to say. But it's already having me approach different personalities and different people in a unique way, going, that makes a lot more sense. I'm not going to go, to Jacqueline if I want to get a presentation done, or Jacqueline to get
anything done.
Anything done, right? So it shows you kind of your strengths, and it made a lot more sense. I mean, I've been in my body for a number of years, right? I know myself. This made me see myself in a different light. So it could be interesting if you guys think it's interesting. It's on Audible. You don't even have to read the book, but I'll put the assessment in our workplace group. So if you want to do the assessment, but I think it'd be really cool to kind of come together for those interested. Like Jenna, you and your team would be fascinating with that, right? And so then for those that are hiring, right? What's cool is if you have a whole bunch of people that lead in these spaces, but you don't have anybody that leads in T&I, you need to hire people that lead in T&I, right? You got to figure out where those gaps are. So anyway, that was long-winded. We're at the top, almost at the top of the hour. Is this fascinating to any of y'all, or am I just a dork? Jacqueline, you and I might just be dorks.
Both.
Okay, well, there you go.
Oh, it's totally awesome. Thanks for sharing.
I think it's also good timing because as we head towards the end of the year, everybody's business planning and thinking about how is my year going to be different next year? What can I do different? What can I be more efficient at? And this just helps bring a little more of our skills to the forefront.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in dork land also. I loved it. I can't wait to get to workplace and take that assessment.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And then what we can do is we can plot them. Like anybody that wants to take them, we'll get the sheet and we'll just plot everybody on there. And so that's how it makes us stronger as a group as well, right? It makes us stronger in conversations. Like if Marissa needs, a certain personality or certain conversation to help with a conversation, now she knows who the best one is to go to. Like I can do all 6 of them, but like I will tune out. I mean, Renee is one of my, and Jill, 2 of my dearest friends, and they both lead with W's, and it drives me nuts. I'm like, I don't like, if I ask a question, they question tree me to death. I'm like, I don't want to get to my own solution. I don't want you to keep asking me questions. I just want you to tell me, right? But it's so funny because I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, because that's one of my frustrations. So it's an area where I can work on, but I also know it's one of my opportunity areas, right? And so I'm not going to beat myself up over it. So if you guys are interested, I'm going to put it in the link. I get nothing from this. Like it's just something I'm geeking out over a little bit, and it's a lot of fun. So we can mastermind on that in the future.
Kind of like Dr. Abelson's, just a little different angle.
Yeah, it's very different, but then they complement each other really well. So like Stacy and I, seriously complete opposites on the disc profile. And so, but it's really cool because that made sense. I mean, we're exactly the same on Working Geniuses, but now it makes sense where she brings in her personality strengths a little bit differently, and we actually complement each other. Like I'm always apologizing to Stacy, going, "Oh my gosh, you always send out the reminders. You're always doing this. Thank you so much," because I feel guilty. But then I realized when she did this, I was like, oh my gosh, you love doing that. You love bringing the troops together just as much as I do. So now I don't feel guilty that she's jumping in to help me, because that's where she fills her cup, right? Whereas somebody else like Daphne isn't going to do that. She's going to be miserable doing that, and it's going to be a chore, and she's going to be negative about it and all the things. So it just now I don't apologize. I was like, oh, I don't have to apologize to you anymore, Stacy. Like, this is what we're going to do. And it's nice to have a buddy that likes to do all the things you do. So you're not always the one that's, you don't burn out. So anyway, all that to say, you're all geniuses in my book. I adore each and every one of y'all. Have an amazing weekend. I will put all that stuff in there. Reach out anytime, but just make it a great week. And we're getting to the end of the year, but we're going to finish strong, and then we're going to start the new year strong together. So thank you guys for showing up.
Bye, y'all. Have a good day.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thanks, bye.
See
Y'all
you
have a
guys
great
soon.
weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, I just finished huddle. So were you in huddle? I can't hear you. You're muted. Were you in huddle?
Yeah, for the first part.
Okay, I'm putting everybody in the waiting. I was putting everybody in the waiting room. I got locked out of my house today, so I had to take a shower in the full bath. So my hair's still wet and stuff. So I'm sorry, I'm like not presentable, but
Hey,
all
will
right.
you
So
just double check that we're not live streaming this? When I came on, it said this meeting's being live streamed.
good. I probably haven't ended it. Hold on. That would be hilarious.
If we're having a, we're